Hey everyone, if you have ever had the experience where you're sitting at the dinner table and there's conversations happening, things maybe aren't going well, and then your spouse or partner does something from a parenting perspective, and you're like, what? Really?
Mm.
I know I've had that experience, and recently I've had a few clients who've been like, how do you handle that with grace? In a way that doesn't bring the whole family down, or in a way that doesn't add fuel to the fire and
Mhm.
create more conflict. So I have brought one of my favorite people in the world here. Darren's incredible mindset coach for corporations, but he's also been a coach for thousands of kids of what we should be looking for, especially to keep the family intact and more harmony.
Such a beautiful thought. I'm also passionate about it. I think, stronger family equals stronger kids equals stronger world. Big fan. I'm going to use what I often do in corporate settings and in sports settings and talk about team and in this idea like team family. I think this works across the board. So see if this helps. But we have three rules of being a good teammate. And it's number one is do your job. And so I'm going to tell you the three and then we can break it down. But do your job. Number two is trust everyone to do their job. And then number three is support everyone to win. And so I've been practicing this for, well, 30 years plus in the sports world and now in the last 10 years in the corporate world. It's the same thing. And again, I think it works everywhere. Where the breakdown often happens on a team is that we get confused on what the other person's doing. Like, what is that? And so in this dinner table example, our teammate is really not doing what teammates should be doing. And now our focus switches from the big picture, which is, harmony and peace in the family, to now we go below the line and look at what they're doing and they shouldn't be doing.
And when
And
you,
our energy
I want to
changes.
jump in right there because I think it's a really
Yeah.
important piece. When you say below the line, what you're
Mm.
talking about is really going to shame, blame, make wrong, where basically your teammate becomes an opponent in that moment
Yes.
where you shift your mindset of, yeah, we were a team, but you did that. And
Right. And now we got a problem. And by the way, the problem is you. And so I'll just preface this by saying I'm talking to the leaders here. I talk to everyone as if they're the leader. So inside of a team, they're like saying, well, how come I have to do all the work? It's because you're the leader. I'm not saying you have to do all the work, but there's advantages in being the leader. But one of the things is I ask you to run it through the whole team perspective, not just yours, and not focusing in on weakness. Well, what we're going to get back to is focusing on possibilities and strengths. What I say above the line thoughts versus what's wrong, what's not working, what they're doing.
what is the benefit to
Yeah,
being the leader? And for me, in my work, I often see that whoever is the sanest at the time takes the
sure.
leadership role. And so you can, what I call tag team it with your spouse when things are going better and you are on a more similar team to do that.
Yes.
But what is the benefit and how do we move from it's always me and I'm, do you not see my to-do list? I already have so much here. Do I have to do one more thing where I have to handhold and babysit this situation too?
Right. I would say most of the clients I work with, I'd say, how would it be if you weren't the leader? Tell me about that. And they can't really go there because they don't have a ton of experience. If we really look at it, most people who are in positions of leadership, authority, whatever it is, it's because they want to be there. But
Mm.
it's that if you see it as a job, as an anchor, as a problem, as a, oh, woe is me, you start going below the line about your own job and say you're not doing your job. You are a leader. And so, yes, it would be nice if somebody would lead once in a while. I think that's more realistic.
So that's, I think, a really important piece, Darren, because if it doesn't mean as a leader you're doing it all, or does it?
Yeah,
I just want to make sure we
you're
clarify
right.
this, right?
Thank you. Yeah, I get really specific on this particular piece, and I say a leader to me, they have one definition. That's how I talk about leader. Leader creates space for success. Create space for success. That's your job, leader. Notice how it says you have to go and do it all. That is not what I'm saying. I need to create space for success. So at a dinner table and my spouse is going someplace that I don't know where they're going, it's like clearly the space is not set for success.
Mhm.
Correct.
So
So
how do we shift that in the
shift it.
moment?
Yeah. My first thought is I need to get present. Like I need to get present. Because what often happens, especially with partners of some sort, is they go to automatic scoreboarding. Like I did this last time, or you did this before, and I'm not never again is that. And now we're in the past, and it's like ugly.
Or
It's you know what?
catastrophizing for the future.
Sure,
Then I'm like, oh my gosh, now my child is going to act just like them, or now this is going to be a problem. Our whole family, it's the future predicting.
totally. It's one or the other. It's generally not here. And so, and all the studying I've done is where's happiness live? It lives in the present. Even in the chaos, if I can stay present, I like our chances. Now, it doesn't make the world rainbows and butterflies. But second of all, I would get intentional. I would just be like, I need to take a second and go, the next thing I say, do, show it's gonna have impact.
Mm.
And so if I can stay present, if I can be intentional, and and then this is the part of the teamwork that is really important. Is that can I give this person some room here? Can I work with this? Even though it is sounding like a lunatic, is there enough in the bank? Is there enough back here to go, hey, I think I hear you, but can we get back on track? Remember, intentional. Can we go back over here? Can we talk about this? Can we talk about that later? It's a very leadership position to kind of go, hey, that's not going to work right now. And so my rule of thumb is the quicker I can get to acceptance, the quicker I can get to a better result.
Mm.
That's it. Quicker I can get to acceptance. So what I want to do, what my brain is set to do is resist what they're saying, what they're doing, how they're acting, and go, this shouldn't be. But as soon as I start resisting, I am in trouble. I'm in trouble of no longer being able to create the space for
I'm
success.
just my brain is turning in terms of practical. What does that sound like? Could that be
Yeah.
something like, hey, I really appreciate when, as a family, we talk about what went well in our day. Would you guys be willing to play with me right now? Just in terms of doing a 180 shift, would that be something like you're talking about in this moment? Still knowing that they might not play along, right?
They might not.
But I have a better chance of them playing
You have a
along
better
if,
chance.
if I
Yeah.
share what would work better for me.
Right. And what I want everyone to hear and notice is the ownership that comes out of that. Say, I would like, here's what would work for me, is so much healthier and better at shifting than, what you're doing and what you should do now. Most people, when they're in that state, they can't hear that. And so now we're just going to create more conflict. Take ownership, say, here's what works really great for me. Who would be interested in playing and trying to get people to come over to your side? Even generally the person who was acting in a different way. With ownership, they can hear it generally. With accountability, with things that leaders naturally speak of, especially when they're intentional. And what you mentioned was, here's what I would like. It's like, that's my intention.
Before we go, I want to make sure, then what would the conversation with your spouse be later? And
Right.
is that also an important piece? Because I talk about if there is a correction or things we want changed, it is much better to do it outside the earshot of our kids rather than right there and to get into the thick of it. Because especially if we think there could be some defense, etc. What is
Yeah.
your take on that and thoughts on that?
Thank you. Yeah. What I would say, I go back to my team, my definition of team. So you might come up with your own, but
Mm.
know that I have the do your job, trust others to do their job, support everyone to win. Is I would start with, hey, I just want to check. What do you think your job is? What do you think your job is at the dinner table? And if it's like, my job is to complain about everything and tell you all about, say, tell me what's the win in that for us. To help me understand you. Not,
And
not from a, you're wrong.
if I can play along with that, Darren, I
Yeah.
would imagine that the dad could say something like, well, how else are they going to learn? If we don't
Right.
point out what's wrong, how else are they going to learn?
Right. So this is a great, now we have a talking point. So what I'm hearing you say is they learn best by hearing about the real world and the real problems and like, is that what you're saying? Notice I'm saying it with some sort of curiosity. I'm not trying to catch you, trap you. Just curious. It's like, okay. So, I don't think that way. I think another way. I think what works best is engaging conversation and curious questions. And so we have two very different ways of doing it. Which way is working best for our team? Let's talk about it. What's your proof? I want to hear it, and then let me show you what I'm doing. And if we can't agree, can we agree to do it one night your way and one night my way? Can we just see? Because let's start building. Let's find out.
Mhm.
Let's get curious. And again, it only works if I stay present, even in that conversation, because I want to go, what an idiot. Like, what are they thinking? That's so obviously wrong. But actually, if I can just say, okay,
Now,
I hear what you're saying.
what century are you living in? Like, yeah.
Right. Sure. But most people, if you want them to shift and change, you have to create the space for success. And so creating space for success, even in that conversation, is I'm not telling you that's wrong and unfathomable. What I'm saying is I'd love to do it this way. If you're really tied to this, like, can we do that on Tuesdays and Thursdays? Like, can we be intentional?
Yeah.
Because what I have found is most people, when they hear it come back, and it's not in a judgmental way, and it's not a shame blame game,
Yeah.
they often will go, I don't know if we need to do it Tuesdays. I don't know if I need to do it Thursdays. And we have a shift
Mhm.
often,
Mhm.
often, but it started with creating space for success, not making people wrong. And when your standards are way off inside of a team,
Mhm.
it's not the end of the world. We just need to get clear on which standard works better. I want you to lead in this area because that standard you have, I think, is better for us as a team.
Mhm.
And this area, I think it's better for me. What do you think? Or for the team? What do you think? Let's have that discussion. You know, my partner is very high in the cleanliness side. Well, I'm not. So if I want to have a home that works, it'd be up to me to go, actually, I want you to lead because I like that standard. Now I don't have that standard, but you do. So let's play to your standard. And in other areas, let me lead because I love my standard. Can you see how that would work best for our team?
Mhm. Understood. I'm smiling because I can hear some moms going, "Yeah, I don't think my husband or my partner would ever even say, 'Oh, let's go with your standards.'" But I wonder if they're not giving them the benefit of the doubt and if they're coming from so much judgment versus the curiosity that opens up the
Yes.
conversation, that I guess, yeah, I think that is what makes all the difference in the world. Would you agree?
Yes. I would think back to the what is a leader, creating space for success. Energy is a big part of it. And so you come in with I'm going to prove that you're wrong. That is not leadership. You are not creating space for success. You say, well, I didn't say it. It's like, that doesn't count. Communication, the words are only about 7%. And so it's all the other stuff that's getting in the way. And then they complain to their friends and say, oh, this guy or this woman doesn't listen to me. And they never do, and they'll never change. It's like, I have another big belief we'll always find what we're looking for. I prefer to look for ways that our team's working and really build on that. I prefer to look at your strengths. I prefer to find the things I want you to lead me in
I,
and
I
build
call
from
this
there.
a half glass full, right? Because it's the same glass, it's the same water, but are you focusing on it's half empty or half full?
Really good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank
Thank
you.
you so, so much. If you want to have any more information, please reach out to me. And if you're not yet a member of the Stubborn Child Solutions Facebook group, come on over. I would love to connect with you there.